And it is Aliyah Boston talking about her favorite teammates in the WNBA. And if we're being real, I would assume the teammate who gets 3 to 4 assists per game to her is probably her favorite teammate. The teammate that, keeps giving her the ball wide open 4 feet from the basket for her.
So Aliyah Boston just dropped some truth bombs about her favorite WNBA teammates, and people are absolutely losing it. She didn't hesitate for even a second when asked who she loves playing with most. Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. No diplomatic answers, no trying to please everyone, just raw honesty that has certain fan bases completely melting down.
I'm also going with 2. Can you guess who they are?
No.
Caitlin and Kelsey. I love those girls right there.
I knew that.
You could have, I feel like you could have guessed that.
I knew that, but I knew that.
I feel like you could have, I
don't know why I was thinking college too.
Oh, I was just thinking.
Okay, you're right.
But
you're a big girl now.
Caitlin, yeah, I am. I'm grown up.
Grown.
Caitlin and Kelsey, those are my girls. Like, I love those two so freaking much, and I love playing with them. It's crazy. So those are my 2.
The whole thing went down during this interview where she got asked point blank about her favorite teammates. Her response was lightning fast and crystal clear. Caitlin and Kelsey, I love those girls right there. The interviewer wasn't even surprised, saying they knew that was coming. Boston kept going, explaining how much she genuinely loves playing alongside them. You could tell this wasn't some rehearsed media response. This was straight from the heart.
Things when it comes to Aliyah Boston, it's like people have tried to put Aliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark, pit them against each other. But at the end of the day, I think when people were doing that
Think about why this makes total basketball sense, though. Clark is literally feeding Boston perfect passes multiple times every single game. 3 to 4 assists coming her way regularly, setting her up for easy buckets right near the rim. When someone's making your job that much easier on the court, of course they become your favorite person to play with. That's not politics, that's just smart basketball.
What made you take Caitlin Clark's drink?
You just never, that's just who I am. I'm like, okay, you know what? You're going to be on camera. Let me just slide this out the view so we don't have to worry about it. No one has to see it. And obviously, the way I'm looking in the camera, I thought that, no one could see me. I was like, oh, no one can even see what's happening here, but I was wrong.
You look really guilty
I was
in this video. Caitlin looks like she's having a great time.
And I'm just like,
Courtney
excuse
Williams,
me, I'm just going to take this from you.
just in her element. And Aliyah looks like the kid in class that raised their hand and told the teacher that they didn't collect the homework. That's what you look like. That's what you look like in that picture.
I did just have to take it. And I was holding it.
What makes Boston's response so refreshing is how real it sounds. She's not doing that typical athlete thing where they give you some vanilla answer designed to avoid controversy. She's telling you exactly how she feels and why. In a world where most pros stick to safe, scripted responses, this kind of authenticity hits different.
The good news is you get the number 1 pick.
Yes.
And that obviously becomes Caitlin Clark.
Yes.
What are she joins the team. What are some of your early impressions of her?
I thought she was super nice. I think it's always weird when you're used to competing against someone.
Yeah.
I was I forgot, we were doing something. We had something. I was like, Caitlin, I just want to say, I'm really upset that you did what you did in that Final Four game.
Now Boston could have easily mentioned Erica Wheeler from her rookie season. Wheeler was constantly getting Boston involved, making sure she got her opportunities to shine. So if Wheeler had been part of this answer, nobody would have been shocked. But that's not where Boston's head is at right now. She's locked in on her current situation with Clark and Mitchell.
Because we are teammates, but I'm you didn't have to do all that. You did not have to go for 40 on our dome.
Yeah.
Girl, we could have just had fun.
Yeah,
but after that, it was cool because obviously now we're on the same team. So
Yeah.
you don't worry about that. But I always thought it was funny because I'm we just went from competing against each other, you beating us, and now we're on the same team.
The interviewer brought up college teammates, which opens up a whole other can of worms. Boston's favorite college running mate was probably Brea Beal, who she even played with professionally for a bit. But Boston made it clear where she stands now. I'm grown. I'm grown up. Translation, the college chapter is behind her. She's moved on to professional priorities and professional relationships that matter more for where she's trying to go. This is exactly where South Carolina fans start losing their minds. They want Boston still waving that college flag, still putting those old relationships first, still acting like her university days are the most important thing in her world. But Boston has evolved past that mindset. She's a professional athlete now with professional goals, and the relationships that help her reach those goals matter most. Remember all those people trying to create drama between Boston and Clark? Well, they just got their entire storyline completely destroyed. For months, we've been hearing whispers about how these two don't fit together, how their games clash, how there's some kind of tension brewing. Boston just torched all of that nonsense by straight up calling Clark one of her two favorite teammates in the entire league. Let's dive into why this basketball partnership actually works so well. Because that's where things get really fascinating. When Clark showed up in Indiana, Boston completely reimagined her entire approach to the game. She went from being this physical, back to the basket center, to becoming an elite face-up player who can do everything. Boston got quicker, faster, more agile defensively, to the point where she can actually guard smaller players now. Her pick-and-roll game improved dramatically. Her shooting became more reliable. Her perimeter defense jumped to another level entirely. This transformation was deliberate and absolutely necessary for what Indiana wanted to accomplish. Here's something wild to think about. If Indiana had gotten the second draft pick instead of the first, they probably would have selected Camila Cardoso instead. Boston would still be playing that bruising center style, working those high-low sets with Cardoso. Christie's sides might still be coaching, and the Fever probably never sniffed the playoffs. That's not throwing shade at Boston or Cardoso. That's just reality. Boston adapted everything about her game to maximize what she and Clark could do together. And honestly, it's not clear if Clark could have made that same kind of adjustment if the roles were flipped. Could Clark thrive in a slow, it-down, post-focused system? That's genuinely questionable. Clark needs that up-tempo pace where she controls the flow and has freedom to create magic. But Boston made it work. She changed her entire basketball identity. And look what happened. Playoffs. One of the most exciting teams in the league, real chemistry between her and Clark, both on the court and off. And now she's publicly saying Clark is one of her favorite teammates ever. The comment sections are predictably chaotic right now. South Carolina fans are upset. Clark haters are scrambling. People who were pushing that Boston doesn't like Clark narrative are trying to explain this away somehow. But the simplest answer is usually the right one. Boston genuinely loves playing with Clark because their games fit perfectly and they've built a real friendship. Someone asked about Brea Turner and whether Boston would want to keep her or trade her. The response was diplomatic but realistic. If Turner comes on a minimum deal, sure, you take that. She's solid depth who can contribute when needed. But she's clearly not in the same conversation as Clark and Mitchell when we're talking about Boston's most important partnerships. Another comment said, please sign the CBA. And that's the elephant in the room lurking behind everything right now. The WNBA and Players Union still haven't locked in a new collective bargaining agreement. The schedule exists, games are planned, but technically nothing is guaranteed to actually happen. The reality, though, is that this season will happen because too many players can't afford for it not to. There are players who made less than $100,000 last year combining WNBA and overseas money. Those same players are looking at $500,000 contracts if this season moves forward. That's 3 or 4 years of previous salary rolled into 1 year. They're not striking. They need that money. The union can talk about solidarity and standing together all they want. But when you break it down player by player, 80 to 90 of them would vote against a strike if you ask them privately. The threats are basically empty at this point because ownership knows most players desperately need this season to happen. If players were smart, they'd push for a shorter CBA with opt-out clauses tied to revenue growth. Accept the current terms, including that $1.3 million max salary, but build in an opt-out after 3 years when the TV deal gets renegotiated. That way, if league revenue explodes like everyone expects, players can renegotiate from a position of strength. But back to Boston and Clark. This partnership might be the most important relationship in the WNBA right now. Not just for Indiana, but for the entire league. Clark is the biggest draw in women's basketball. Boston is one of the most talented young bigs in the game. Together, they form a foundation that could dominate for years to come. The fact that they genuinely like each other, that Boston openly calls Clark one of her favorites, that they've built real chemistry and friendship beyond just basketball, is massive for Indiana's future success. You can't fake that kind of connection. You can't manufacture genuine respect and affection between teammates. Either it exists or it doesn't. And clearly, it exists between Boston and Clark. All those haters who were desperately trying to create drama between these two just got embarrassed. Every narrative about tension, about fit issues, about Boston being unhappy with Clark's arrival, all of it got obliterated by Boston's simple, honest answer about her favorite teammates. This reminds us how often sports narratives are completely disconnected from what's actually happening. Fans and media create storylines based on assumptions, biases, and agendas. But the actual players involved often see things totally differently. Boston doesn't care about manufactured drama. She cares about winning games and playing with people she enjoys being around. And those people are Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. The growth Boston has shown is genuinely impressive. She went from being the focal point of a college dynasty at South Carolina to being a complimentary star in the WNBA. She completely adapted her game, embraced a new role, built new relationships, and she's thriving in ways that wouldn't have been possible if she'd stubbornly stuck to her college approach.
That's what great players do. They evolve, they adapt, they prioritize winning over personal stats or ego. Boston could have resisted these changes. She could have demanded the offense run through her in the post like it did in college, but she recognized that wasn't the path to winning. So she transformed everything about her game to maximize team success. Now she's reaping those rewards. Playoffs for the Fever. Boston's value is higher than ever. She's playing alongside one of basketball's biggest stars, and she's openly happy about it, which drives the haters absolutely crazy. Those South Carolina fans upset about this need to understand that players move on. College is just a brief chapter in a professional athlete's life. Boston's loyalty belongs to her current team and current teammates now. That doesn't take away from what she accomplished in college. It just means she's grown beyond that chapter and is focused on her professional career. Aliyah Boston said Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell are her favorite teammates. The haters are furious. That whole narrative about tension between Boston and Clark just died. This Fever core is something special, and everyone can see it now.